Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning from Congress.
Good. She betrayed the president.
Are you fucking... Excuse me, frickin' kidding me? I mean, this is starting to feel like a cult.
No, this is the nature of politics. The House of Representatives is 219 to 213. It's one of the smallest majorities ever, and the 213 Democrats are anti-Trump to the core. In order for Trump's presidency to be successful, he needs Republicans who sure can disagree and give their input behind closed doors, but who are aligned and vote with the president in public. As a fractured party gets nothing done, and then the Democrats take power.
Okay, no, you are misunderstanding our governance structure. Representatives in the House, the legislative branch, is a co-equal, independent branch of government. It is Marjorie's literal duty to hold the executive branch and the president in check when his desires run contrary to the interests of her district. That doesn't make her a traitor. It means she's doing her job.
Got it. Cool. In normal circumstances, sure. But the reality of our system today is the Democrats, in the House particularly, are locked in unison against Trump, even in matters where it benefits their districts. Therefore, Republican detractors in today's world lead to Trump not being able to get any of his agenda done, and then us ceding power to the Democrats.
So Marjorie still votes with Trump on mostly everything. She's been one of his most loyal day one MAGA supporters, backing everything from his election, his rigged stuff, to using his language, calling past detractors of his traitors.
And now the tables have turned. I mean, she went against the president on the Epstein discharge petition, on H-1Bs, on international students. She blamed the shutdown on Republicans and has been going on all these liberal television shows insulting Republicans on healthcare and saying Trump is spending too much time overseas. There's a reason the liberals are having her on TV. Politics is a power game, and she has become an asset for the left.
Okay, the thing is, Marjorie hasn't changed. She backed Trump initially because she saw him as America first. And when Trump deviates from that, she's not just going to blindly deviate as well. She shared personal text messages of her urging behind closed doors the president to get back on the American first track, but he hasn't listened till she's gone public on a few disagreements. But still, she voted for Trump's landmark piece of legislation this term, the big beautiful bill. So don't give me this.
I'm just saying the Democrats are in unison. Republicans must be as well. We can fix the system later, but now this is about Republicans joining together to get things done.
So you want loyalist puppets. Got it.
No, we want results.
Well, the result you just got is the Republican majority shrinking by one vote on January 5th. So congratulations, that strategy worked.
Further proof Marjorie is what Trump's been saying she is. America first?
No. I cracked the code. The reason Trump and Zoran liked each other so much is because they're both socialists.
Have you been drinking your wine again? I mean, Zoran, sure, he's a self-proclaimed democratic socialist, but Trump? Really?
Yeah, really. I mean, fundamentally, what socialism is more social, so public/governmental ownership and control over different sectors of the economy. So it's really the expansion of the role of government. And yes, Zoran wants government to make childcare... Should I just keep going? All right. Sure, Zoran wants the government to make childcare and buses free, but Trump has expanded the federal government as well in three key ways. First off, tariffs. We have the highest tariff rate since the 1930s.
All right, Lenny, you better not be driving tonight. But tariffs aren't the government taking more control. It's the government regulating the free market and incentivizing privately owned companies to build more in America.
But a lot of real conservatives are mad. I mean, Reagan, Bush, traditional conservatives hated tariffs because it's a tax, it's a revenue generator, and it's the federal government taking more control of global trade, saying the freeness of markets are failing in global trade and the state must swoosh in to save the day and regulate. I mean, it's not quite Adam Smith.
I mean, the big beautiful bill cut the size of social programs and cut taxes, so that was fundamentally conservative, reducing the size and scope of government. And I think there's a difference between regulating to promote domestic manufacturing and actually the government taking ownership stakes in key sectors like Zoran is proposing with city-owned grocery stores.
Well, it's like you threw me an alley-oop. The Trump administration, so the U.S. government, did take a 10% stake in Intel and a golden share in U.S. Steel. Plus, they're taking 15% of revenues at AMD and NVIDIA makes selling to China, and he's starting his sovereign wealth fund. So it seems there will be more of the government literally seizing the means of production.
Okay, the Intel stake, for instance, is a non-voting share that was taken because Biden already approved billions of dollars in handouts to them in the Chips and Science Act, and the stock market is at all-time highs, and industry leaders are working hand in hand with the administration because they know he's pro-free market and pro-strong economy.
I think these business leaders see the socialistic tendencies of this presidency, how he's wielding a big stick in the economy, and they are making the business decision to appease him.
Oh, please.
So finally, he's literally proposing a tariff dividend of $2,000 to every non-rich citizen. Must I remind you, we run nearly a $2 trillion yearly deficit, and the tariff revenue may be $300 billion. So this dividend is money we don't have.
Look, that's just an idea he's proposed, and it kind of makes sense. Tariffs are effectively a tax companies pay as a punishment for hiring foreign workers over domestic workers. Why not let domestic workers have a share of that?
Well, thank you for admitting tariffs are a tax, but it's because you fiscal hawk Republicans should know this. That money doesn't exist. When you're running enormous deficits as we are, spending more and cutting taxes for billionaires, as the big beautiful bill bid, just decreases the value of the dollar, which we all pay for through inflation. Look, there's no denying this is not your traditional conservative president. Trump literally said him and Zoran agree on a lot. I don't think he's lying. They have socialistic tendencies, but at least Zoran's honest.
I think Trump just decided to put party politics aside for a day to put America and New Yorkers first. You're diving too deep into this, Bob.
I don't know.
I do.
Yeah, I don't think you diving too deep into it too. I mean, if Trump was a socialist, these liberals would love him. But hey, guys, we are live. Yo, this is Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get into Trump's gaggle with the press, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into a media analysis because, yeah, it's been a pretty interesting week, and everybody's kind of blowing up over Trump meeting with Mandani, the Ukraine peace deal, and of course Venezuela. So let's get into it, guys.
Recreational facility back was a great place that has been destroyed over the years. We're going to Andrews Air Force Base to do some work, especially for our great Air Force. We're doing some fix-up of the base, which it needs. We're going to try and reinstitute the golf courses. I'm meeting with the great Jack Nicklaus, greatest person, and he's involved in trying to bring their recreational facility back. It was a great place that has been destroyed over the years through lack of maintenance, so we'll fix that up. Jack will be the architect and he'll design it. 2 existing courses that are in very bad shape, so we can, for very little money, fix it up for the Air Force Base. And we're looking at other things over at Andrews. So we're going to be stopping, won't be too long. We'll be stopping over there. I think some of you will be there. And the economy, as you saw, some incredible numbers came in. Investment in our country is bigger than ever before by a factor of 2 or 3. And that means a lot of things are being built and a lot of plants will be opening very soon.
So yeah, investment is up due to the Saudi deal, the Saudi Arabia deal, of course. And then there was also 2 new factories that opened up. Well, one in North Carolina, and I forgot the location of the other one. But Scott Besson was there for the groundbreaking of that new factory. He was a data center, actually.
I know that before you had a fight with Elon Musk, and you guys were able to work it out.
You know, I get along with everybody.
We see the same thing happening between you and Congress.
Sure, why not? I mean, I get along with everybody. No, not like I would like to get the peace. It should have happened a long time ago. The Ukraine war with Russia should have never happened. If I were president, it never would have happened. We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended. So then he can continue. Then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
Do you have any comment about Bolsonaro's arrest?
So I spoke last night to the gentleman you just referred to, and we're going to be meeting, I believe, in the very near future.
Sir, are you willing the president to be arrested today?
What?
Any comment about the former Brazilian president being arrested today?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Mr. President, are you willing?
I didn't hear. Is that what happened?
Yes,
That's too bad. That's too bad. No, I just think it's too bad.
Do you still plan to deploy the National Guard to New York City?
If they need it. Right now, other places need it more, but if they need it, we had a very good meeting yesterday. We talked about that. But if they need it, I would do it.
Mr. President, are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene?
Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead, and this is what he was talking about by major gains in the economy, according to the job numbers. Now, unemployment did go up to 4.4%. Number of unemployment people is at 7.6 million people, but non-farm payroll jobs did increase by 119,000 jobs in September. So, yes, there was 119,000 jobs in September, and you could take that with a grain of salt because this is before revisions. But as it stands right now, we have about 119,000 jobs that was added in September, but unemployment is at 4.4%.
This, stupid person named Massey, and I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived the primary. But I think she's a nice person. Okay, thank you.
And all right, now we're gonna go halfway through the Zoran Mondani and Trump meetup. We're at about half of it since I covered it yesterday.
Never started. That would have been a good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President, the cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mondani seem to agree on. Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mondani. Do you see Democrat policies specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Mr. President, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by.
I'll tell you one thing. They are, well, I say this. They're both victims of bad Democrat policies, especially Zoran Mondani. Of course, with Cuomo being his one of the ex-governors. And then, of course, he got Hochul over there and effing everything up. And then here comes Mondani. We're over here thinking that Mondani might just be, the final thing that sinks the ship. But hey, apparently he's coming to Trump, who we believe to be a capitalist. I believe that Trump's a capitalist. But hey, you never know. You never know. He might have some socialist tendencies. And here's the thing. I think all capitalists do. Like, we all agree with a little bit of some of the things that socialism implies, but not just full out socialism.
International law that they.
It's like, that's the problem. I mean, you can have a little sprinkle of it, but the problem with some of the Dems is that they just want to say, no. We want the whole thing to be socialist. Nah, let's have a balance here. But hey, some people don't believe in the balance.
Will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it can be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with
No, I don't know. Would you want to respond to
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
We were with ICE. We were with ICE.
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. And most recently, we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction. And he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, et cetera. And, we actually, people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Increase the supply of housing, you're going to bring down, rent pricing. It depends, like I said, depends on what you're building. If you're building single family housing, then yeah, you're going to bring down the price of housing. But if you're building a whole bunch of apartments, then you just bring down the prices of rent. And if he takes away the rent freeze, that can work out for them.
Anti-Israel protesters.
without them living in projects.
Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mandami talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our
But to be
city.
clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Please go.
Mr. Montani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you've threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being said. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down ideally by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear.
Yeah, building additional houses and not rent freezing. I mean, that was one of his talking points was, all right, if we put rent freezes and all this good stuff, we'll be able to, solve the affordability problem when it came to rent. The problem is that's when you get projects, property that's not so taken care of, and now you're dealing with rats and roaches. And we don't want that for the New York people. But, building more apartment complexes or building more housing would help out with the housing and rent costs, at least.
I hear that, but I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, named de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President,
How about you? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to.
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support.
But you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would, especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York. And I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains?
Oh, and shout out Asherosh. She said, hey, said, I was wondering how your show has your show ever been doxxed before from the content that you show or from what you say in the chat? Have you ever seen with the subscribers slowing down? I think it's all seasonal. It's all seasonal. You never know. Sometimes it picks more up in the summer, sometimes slows down in the winter. I try not to pay too much in mind and try not to read too much into it. It happens. It happens.
Greener.
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece.
That's a
of it.
good question.
There's a bus that goes.
Well, I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker.
I really thought about it.
You know, I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters, beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Now it is fake news. Like the National Guard still does see the Nazi symbol as an offensive, symbol. You just can't start wearing that as a tattoo. You definitely can't have it on your uniform. So trust me, the rules still stands, nothing changes. So yes, it is fake news. It's just trying, I don't know why, but it's just trying to push that Nazi narrative for some strange reason. And on the National Guard, especially. So I mean, like, what are y'all trying to say? What, the National Guard might have some Nazis in there, like in their ranks? Like, come on now. Like I said, yeah, they're going a bit too far with the rhetoric. Now it's trying to, demonize ICE. Now what? You're trying to say that, oh, and even the National Guard is starting to get Nazified. All right, come on now, give it a break.
Peace and all the 9 months
Yes.
around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and he worked hard to make the peace because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere? What do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace. And I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on
Shooting. Shout out my man Gaming. Hey, shout out Gaming for sending in the 100 jewels. And shout out to my man Chase for sending the clutch for 30 jewels. Appreciate the support, guys.
Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights. And I know that still today, those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, question for Mr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer's and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him.
So the Dems got their own civil war going on. Yeah, like I said, it's the establishment Dems versus the Democratic Socialist Party. So yes, it's the Democrat Socialist Party versus the establishment Dems. And that's the civil war that's going on inside the Democratic Party. The war that's going on inside the Republican Party, as you know, is MAGA versus MAGA. So which is make Israel great again versus make America great again. Or, of course, America first versus Israel first. That's what's pretty much going on within the two parties. We're both having our own little civil war. But here's the thing, though. I mean, our civil war is about who's a Nazi supporter, and their civil war is about who's a socialist trying to drive their city or state into communism. It's just the political field right now. So hey, that's where we're at.
but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City. And I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone, outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares, but they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around?
Oh, guys, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. And if you're on the horizontal, just like the video. But let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
In some form.
Because I think he's different. All right. I think he's different. And that can be in a very positive way. But I think he's different than, your typical guy runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical.
And I stated, I respected Mamdani for this. I definitely respected it. I mean, as a guy with some of the most socialist policies, he's a reasonable man. I'll give you that one. Like, nobody thought that Mamdani was going to go straight to Trump, try to work some stuff out and see what they can get done. Now, we do have to also mention the fact that, Trump did withhold government funding from New York City. So that's also a reason he's probably there to get those released. But I mean, at least he's not trying to sit there and try to frame Trump as just this evil guy. Instead, he's trying to go talk to him and see what he can do. And guess what? They sat down and they agreed on some things. Surprise, surprise.
Point. And he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed. And we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. Would you start off at 1 or 2? And then I watched. I said, who is this guy? He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. Then he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
We have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime. There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that happens? Would there be some consequence if the
Well, I hope
staff?
it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD. And I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the
And
campaign.
not replace them with caseworkers, social workers?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes,
If
yes,
the-
we did, Commissioner
if
Tisch.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one
Just-
they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is she's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Mr. President, are there still topics that you see the two of you disagreeing on in the future? And
I mean, that was one of the debate points, and during the mayoral debates, is that hey, if Mamdani wins, the police commissioner said they're gonna quit. We don't know what we're gonna do about that. So if you win, you're basically gonna, excuse me, but if Mamdani wins, he's basically gonna be bringing dysfunction to New York off day one. But that turned out to be a lie. Excuse me, but the police commissioner is still staying. Police officers are, well, now seeing Mamdani with Trump, they're gonna have to give the man a chance at this point. I mean, damn near almost every conservative in New York is just thinking like, all right, look, maybe we can wait off on, dragging everything to Florida. Let's wait out, everybody. You know what? He met with Trump, guys. Who'd have knew? Who'd have knew that man would have been that sensible? Let's wait it out and let's see what he does. He might have actually saved the moving migration out of New York.
think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we
just
disagree on.
pushed
I
it
think
off.
we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately he'll convince me or I'll convince him, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future too?
Sure.
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, throughout the administration?
I think we will. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't,
Nah.
but she's out there campaigning.
Nah, he's not no jihadist. I mean, because remember, jihad is supposed to be an Islamic religious extremist. The man is okay with transgenders. He's okay with gays. He wants to legalize prostitution for the OnlyFans girls. So, boy, jihadists where? Because if he was a jihadist, he's supposed to want to behead these people. Just saying.
And you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person.
Isn't
But
that a kind of label?
you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. When I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now, the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
We are cheering for the man. Now, let's get over to the reaction of, Zohran Mamdani meeting with Trump, because socialists turn on Mamdani over Trump sit down. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and look over the CNN running the numbers on both Trump and Mamdani after this meetup, because guess what? Yeah, their numbers both took a nosedive. Yeah, MAGA didn't like Trump meeting with Mamdani, and apparently the Dems didn't like Mamdani meeting with Trump. It's just how it worked out for them, if we're talking about approval numbers. Now, I'm okay with it. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all are okay with it, but according to how the base feels or how the base voted in these polls, they both took a hit for meeting with each other, which is absolutely insane to me. Damn. Can we not talk?
Transparency. We've been talking all morning about the Oval Office meeting between Zohran Mamdani and President Trump. Highly transparent. And I'll tell you who's being pretty transparent about it are the socialists and what they think. We talked about, we wanted to bring this to you. So the World Socialist website says this: Zohran Mamdani's first acts as mayor-elect seek Trump meeting, keep NYPD Commissioner Tisch, and protect Hakeem Jeffries. Inside, it says less than 3 weeks after Democratic Socialists of America member Zohran Mamdani won the New York City mayoral election, garnering over 1 million votes, the mayor-elect is quickly revealing himself to be nothing more than a standard capitalist politician. In the last 72 hours, it has been revealed that Mamdani reached out to Trump for a meeting, publicly pleaded for.
They feel bamboozled. They was like, we thought we was voting for a socialist, but he's talking to Trump, so now he's a straight up capitalist. Wrong. The problem is that he understands that he got to cooperate with Trump, and he's going to need some of these capitalist money to low-key fuel his socialist agenda, if that's even what he was ever going for. He might have just been talking sweet nothings to the people in New York just to get elected, just to be like, look, y'all wasn't going to listen to me if I was talking, capitalist politics. So I told y'all sweet nothings. Now I'm about to go team up with Trump, and we're about to lay out some capitalist policy. Surprise, surprise, you've all been fooled. I doubt that's the case, but you never know.
Nothing more than a standard capitalist politician. In the last 72 hours, it has been revealed that Mamdani reached out to Trump for a meeting, publicly pleaded for and accepted as police commissioner, current police chief Jessica Tisch, and lobbied against a socialist challenge to New York Representative and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And that, by the way, was written the day before the meeting. Imagine what they think now. And that's why I thought it would be helpful for our viewers to sort of go into a little bit of that if we can. Come with me now over to the wall, because I want to talk a little bit about that. Let's start with Hakeem Jeffries. Now, we saw a challenge. Chio Say, a New York City councilman who is fully a member of the Democrat Socialists of America, jumps in to.
I told you, it's the socialists, it's the Democrat Socialist Party coming after the establishment Democrats, and they're just trying to, they're primarying them across the board. It is a civil war inside of their own party, just like, it's going to be the same thing with us. Trust me. I mean, you're going to start seeing guys like Lindsey Graham, Randy Fine. I mean, even your guy, Thomas Massey, the guys that we do like, that are going to get primaried.
Primary Hakeem Jeffries. And what is Mamdani's reaction? He immediately starts lobbying, saying, well, I don't think we want to get rid of Hakeem Jeffries. We might need him. AOC as well saying we don't really need the socialist. That certainly isn't going to make the socialists of the world very happy about it. But this is the wall we're showing of, remember, the Wall Street Journal called it the rise of Mamdani's Red Guards. Well, already one of the rising Red Guards is getting flack from Mamdani. Let's go to New Jersey, though. You've got Ladorny Namorum challenging Representative Richie Torres, a full-on far left and socialist policy-leaning person. We'll see where that goes. But this one's really interesting. Representative Adriano Espaillat, a long-serving member, getting a challenge from Avila Chevalier, who is a leading member of the Justice Democrats, who led the anti-Semitic protest here in New York. And we just had this past week, the Park East Synagogue being really aggressively protested, blocking entrances, shouting hateful things. Her group was part of that. We don't even know what Mamdani has said about whether he condemns that attack on the synagogue. In New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, now the governor-elect, vacating that seat. And you have Analila Mejia, another far-left progressive with socialist tendencies playing out there. And out in California, it gets interesting, too. You've got Saikat Chakraborty trying to take.
What he's pretty much just laying out right now is that, there is a socialist takeover going on in the Democratic Party. And I mean, these guys have been empowered by Mamdani. Like, I guess they were the quiet part of the Democrats, but now they're the loudest part. They're the loudest people, and they're trying to take over now. And guess what? I think it was Mamdani and this other lady who won in Seattle, I think it was in Seattle, like the white lady that had rich parents that's still living off mom and dad's money. It's kind of crazy how some of these socialists and communists and full-on communists grew up. They always grew up with, like, I'll be real with you, very affluent, almost every trip. And I'm talking about the more full-on communist type. The socialist types, some of them guys grew up poor.
Nancy Pelosi in a primary, a far left individual. Those are all congressional races, guys, by the way. There is one local one, because remember, we haven't seen a national socialist win yet. It's all been at the mayoral level here in New York and out in Seattle with Katie Wilson. But this one's one to watch. Mayor Bass, who is up for re-election next year, against Ray Huang, who is a full-on self-avowed socialist, much like Mayor-elect Mamdani said. And he said at the Oval Office yesterday, guys, I am a self-avowed Democratic socialist, but I think it's worth pointing to these rising red guards of Mamdani. And the question is whether or not any of these socialists can win at the national level. Something certainly.
I mean, you never know. We're about to see come primaries or midterms, because guess what? They might just have a chance. I believe they do. I mean, look at Mamdani. Now, here's the thing. I mean, Mamdani was just talking it. Let's see if he walks it. If he actually walks it, then I guess, if New York does well and Mamdani's plans take off, and, it's New York turns into a prosperous, New York City turns into a prosperous city again. And if he can make it a clean one too, he might have something going. He might actually have something going, and the Democrat Socialist Party would be a more legitimate party since they can point to some success. Just like the Democrat Party can point to some success in their areas, just like the Republicans can as well. I mean, each party is right about certain things that bring success to their communities that they govern, and not so much the Socialist Party. So we're going to see about that. Well, let's get over to CNN and let's see what they're saying.
Joining us now is everybody's favorite data nerd, CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton. It is a great Friday when we can see Harry. And Harry, when I think of the New York region, I certainly think of you. So when we think of these issues that we're talking about with Mamdani and Trump, there's some issues in common that Trump may see something in Mamdani, right?
Yeah, I think, the two Queens boys, and I'm a Bronx guy myself, we all come together. Nothing can break apart New York bros. That's what I say. And nothing can break apart Queens bros. And they do have something together, right? If we think about it, the top issue that they beat their opponent on back in 2024, Trump won on the economy, beat Kamala Harris on that issue by 63 points. Look at Mamdani. Very similar. Living cost, the cost of living. That was his top issue this year. Won it by 37 points. They both were able to win what will be Mamdani's first term in office come January, and Trump winning his second term because they spoke to the.
Oh, man. Shout out to my man Gaiman for sending in the 100 jewels. Appreciate the support, my man. And yes, I do have a normal job. I have a normal job too, guys. I know. It's hard to imagine, but I do have a normal job. For some reason, people always assume that I don't. I mean, geez, what you think? You get 100K subscribers and you just quit your job? No. You get 500K subscribers and you quit your job. So you got to get the numbers right.
Economic concerns of voters.
And when we see that Trump graphic, it says 2024. It doesn't say 2025. How's that issue going for him right now, the cost of living?
Yeah, maybe he could take some lessons from Zohran Mamdani, because if we look right now in terms of Trump's net approval rating on inflation, 2 thumbs down. I mean, this is called the slippery slope down to the bottom. Look at this. In January in inflation, his net approval rating was plus 3 points. Look at where he is today. 34 points underwater. Alex, I know you're right next to the Pacific Ocean. I'm next to the Atlantic Ocean here in New York. I can say that Donald.
And inflation is still hanging around 3%. So it has not increased from last month, and nor has it went down. It has stayed exactly the same.
Trump at this point on inflation is swimming with the fishes.
That's not the only thing you have in the rivers near New York City.
No. Although we've tried to clean them up. We've cleaned them up. This is why I recycle.
Speaking of, though, President Trump's overall approval rating, where is he at now?
Okay, you see this, you see him down at 34 points on inflation. I think Americans think that Donald Trump has lost the plot. And that, of course, has had a massive impact on his overall approval rating, because, of course, inflation is the name of the game these days. The economy is the top issue. Look at this. Trump's net approval rating, second term lows, and I got 5 numbers for you going across the screen. The best is the Marquette University Law School poll, 14 points underwater. Then it gets progressively worse. 17 points underwater in Fox, 17 points underwater in Marist, 22 points underwater in Ipsos, and then rounding out, we have the AP New York poll. Donald Trump is 26 points underwater. My goodness gracious, he's performing about as well as the Buffalo Bills offensive line did last night. Oy vey, oh my goodness gracious. But then I think the key question is, right, can you really take advice from Zohran Mamdani when it comes to a national audience? And we look at the net favorable rating, which is a nice close brother to net approval rating, has similar numbers, but not exactly the same. But look at this, the net favorable rating, Donald Trump, 13 points underwater, perhaps slightly better than his net approval rating, but still way underwater. But look at Zohran Mamdani nationally, 11 points underwater. They are brothers in more than just speaking to the economic concerns of voters, at least trying to. They are brothers when it comes to their popularity nationally, not doing too hot to trot. And again, I throw it back to you by just saying some Buffalo Bills reference because that game on Thursday night made me very, very sad.
Yeah, and this is what I was ranting about, how Trump needs to focus more on affordability. Even more, I mean, that's why I actually did agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where he needs to park the jet at the Air Force Base. So just park the jet and stay here in America and focus on nothing but affordability for the next 6 months until midterm, and make progress on that, make progress on the jobs, affordability. I mean, all that good stuff that you're promising, mining, drill, baby, drill, try to find a way to expedite that stuff instead of focusing what's going on overseas. Though people want you to focus on what's going on at home base, I suggest that the Trump administration do that instead of trying to focus everybody's eyes on what's going on overseas.
Is it time to focus on?
I mean, it's really hard to worry about what's going on overseas when the bills payments is kind of high. You feel me? It's a little hard to worry about that. So let's focus on people's affordability problems.
College football, maybe for you?
You know what? I will be going to the Harvard-Yale game on Saturday, 12 o'clock, the first time that any Ivy League team will be taking part in a playoff game since at least 1945, when the Ivy League opted out of the college football playoffs. And so it will be very interesting to see who wins that game. Not only gets to claim great pride over the other school, they also get to claim a playoff spot in the Division I AA, or I believe it is now the football championship subdivision.
Well, they call him man of the people for a reason. Harry Enton hanging out at the Harvard-Yale game.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know me. You know me with my monocle on. I'm hanging out with all of the wonderful elitists of this world.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Harry. Have a great weekend.
You as well, my friend.
This is the president gushing about his meeting today at the White House with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. He called it a great honor to sit down with the self-described democratic socialist. He also admitted they have more in common than he thought. But this comes after months of attacks against Mamdani, who President Trump has repeatedly called a communist. Today, the president says they could work together on crime, housing, and costs of living in New York. Interesting, they posed in front of the FDR portrait there. They spent more than a half an hour meeting before reporters arrived.
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused on New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City.
So a lot to unpack with our political panel, CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein and Matthew Bartlett, a Republican who President Trump appointed to the State Department in his first term. Let's talk about this.
All right, now let's hear the latest from Press Secretary Leavitt in the White House. Press Secretary. Let's see how she explained what's going on so far. Right into it. And guys, and guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, people.
Good afternoon, everybody. I brought a very special guest with me today, as you can see, Secretary McMahon. So I will begin my remarks. She's going to speak, and then we'll take some questions. She'll take questions, and I'll take questions from you as well. First off, yesterday, First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance traveled to Marine Corps Air Station New River in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, where they spent the day meeting with students, educators, military families, and United States Marines. Both the First Lady and Second Lady were grateful for the warm welcome and remain deeply committed to supporting military families and the communities that serve our great nation. May God bless all of them. In economic news, the September jobs report showed the American economy remains strong, with 119,000 new jobs added, more than double expectations. These gains came after the summer passage of President Trump's historic tax cuts and multiple big trade deals with countries around the world. In particular, construction jobs surged by 19,000 in September, the largest monthly gain in a year. Nearly all of this solid monthly job growth came from the private sector and went to Americans rather than foreign-born workers, the opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. Inflation also remains under control, and wages are up by 3.8% over the year for American workers because of President Trump's pro-growth policies. In fact, real wages are on pace to increase roughly $1,200 for the average worker this year under President Trump. This is a complete reversal of the failed Biden era when we saw inflation skyrocket to 9%, causing
Yeah, with a stagnating wages not going nowhere, but prices rising everywhere. So, and this is what Trump is trying to do. He's definitely trying to gain back the buying power of the American people. And like I said, we lost about 3,000 under Biden, and we've only gained maybe about like 1,200 of it back. So we're still in the negative, and this is why prices are still going or are still going up. So the goal is to pretty much make sure that wages can outpace inflation while also getting inflation to get to a stagnant point, especially, stagnant when it comes to pricing, which would be around that 1.52%.
Private sector workers to see their wages decline by approximately $3,000. We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats. But President Trump is making significant progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied. For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year, from their commute to the dinner table. Nearly 100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families and their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. That's why he signed the largest middle tax cuts in history into law, from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, to no tax on Social Security. And according to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year in what could be a record-breaking tax refund season. So there is more good news to come. We know these refunds will make a huge difference for Americans to help pay down their bills and use towards life's expenses. In other news this week, President Trump took a significant step toward delivering on a core campaign promise to finally close the Department of Education. To shrink the bloated federal bureaucracy, the Department of Education just entered into new interagency agreements with 4 agencies: the Departments of Labor, Interior, Health and Human Services, and State. These agencies will now ensure the delivery of legally required programs while also refocusing them to better serve students. This common sense action brings the Trump administration much closer to finally returning education where it belongs, at the state and local level, not in Washington, D.C.
And now hopefully they got Miss McMahon over here to explain that on how they're implementing this. Now, I already hear how they're, sending school lunches to the Department of Agriculture, and, they're splitting up the Department of Education to, places that just make sense, like how the grants and the loans are being taken to Treasury and all that good stuff. And like I said, school lunches to agriculture. So how else is this going to work out? How is the states funding their own education going to benefit the student? Now, and here's the thing, I'm all for it because let's be real, the Department of Education has completely failed when it comes to even funding students, and it mainly focuses all of its spending on administrative duties, or just really administrative paychecks. So we already know that was a failure. So please lay out how this is going to be the best option for us. Because I'm all for it, but let's please lay out a good plan.
The Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown did manage to do one valuable thing. It proved that America does not need a federal Department of Education. During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools stayed fully open across the country. Students attended class and received normal in-person instruction, and our wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education. Since its creation in 1979 during the Carter administration, the Department of Ed has spent over $3 trillion taxpayer dollars without improving student achievement, despite pure pupil spending having increased by more.
I mean, we spent about $250 billion, I think about a year or so, not a year, but over the 10-year span. I'm going to make sure I check that. But we do spend about $250 billion on we were spending $250 billion on a Department of Education, and we were seeing no improvements in education at all. And we can't even sit here and just keep saying, blaming the schools or blaming the teachers at a certain point. We do got to blame at the top. Like, what are you guys doing at the top to make this better instead of just blaming the teachers? Or, I mean, we can't just sit there and blame property taxes and all that forever now. I mean, what are you just saying? Look, you can't get good schooling unless you live in a nice area. I mean, I thought this was the land of equal opportunity, but when it comes to education, it don't look like it.
More than 245% since the 1970s, math and reading scores are down in public schools. In fact, the most recent Nation's Report Card from 2024 showed that 13-year-olds' math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, and their reading scores are the lowest since testing began more than 30 years ago. It's clear that throwing more money at a broken system does not work, and that's why President Trump appointed the amazing leader behind me, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who is making these monumental changes at the direction of the president. We're very grateful to have you here today to talk about these changes and then take some questions. Hopefully, folks in this room will have some questions on the very important topic of education. So please, Mrs. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today, and thank all of you for being here as well. My purpose here is to speak directly to the American families, not just you, but to the American families, about the work this administration is doing in education to reverse our national decline with a hard reset of our educational system. That reset was a top campaign promise from President Trump to send education back to the states and end Washington's micromanagement of education once and for all. This week, we took the most decisive steps thus far to make good on this promise to you. We have linked 6 groundbreaking partnerships with other federal agencies to delegate education department programs that are redundant with existing programs at Labor, State, Interior, and HHS. These interagency agreements to cut our own bureaucratic bloat are a key step in our efforts to shift educational authority from Washington, D.C. to your state education agency, your local superintendent, your local school board, entities that are accountable to you, and we encourage parents to always be involved. Cutting federal bureaucracy is never a popular move among DC insiders.
And here's the thing. I mean, the worst thing the Dems want to play about education is the reason why they ignore it is because, they like to say, it's the red states. Now, guys, if we rank all the states here, and even if you rank them, you are going to see mostly red states at the bottom. But let's not also forget that there are more red states than blue states. Surprise, surprise. I mean, if you didn't see that in the election, I mean, come on now. Come on. There's a lot more red states than blue states. So when you make a list ranking them, what does that mean? There's going to be red states at the top, red states at the bottom. There's just going to be more red states on the list altogether. Because why? There's more red states than blue states. So that isn't an accurate mark on education, to be quite honest. And then once again, if you take it with a magnifying glass and you hone in on a red state with those low test scores, it's most likely in a blue city every single time, along with the high crime.
A chorus of anti-Trump voices have come out of the woodwork to complain that we are defunding education harming students, or acting without a plan. This could not be further from the truth. The majority of Americans across the country handed President Trump the popular vote precisely because they have seen the brokenness of a top-down education system run by the federal government. They're painfully aware that only 3 out of 10 students can read proficiently at their grade level. They know that college students are collectively $1.7 trillion in debt, and less than half of college graduates get a job that actually uses the degree which they studied so hard to get. They see more teachers than ever before leaving the profession due to burnout, overregulation, and lack of autonomy in the classroom. Anti-Trump voices are stirring up fear.
I mean, we're not saying that, maybe teachers need to start carrying that paddle, but I don't know. Maybe the paddle needs to get brought back. These kids are a bit disrespectful. Yo, kid might need to get that paddle to the backside again. I mean, hey, let's be real. When the teachers have the most respect, when they were swinging that paddle, I'll tell you that. I'm just saying. I ain't saying we need to go all the way there, but some of these kids are out of control. So we need to bring back the paddle or giving these kids shot collars. Okay, I'm playing about the shot collar part.
That returning education to the states is a draconian action. When Americans hear that we are shutting down the department, but given no other details, 51% oppose it. But when those same Americans are informed of our plans to preserve important elements of our work in other federal agencies and to maintain the K-12 funding that is distributed to the states, that number flips to an even greater majority at 56%. They support returning education to the states and breaking up the bureaucracy. That's because the Department of Education is a pass-through entity. It doesn't educate a single student. The money it sends to states for education can be sent directly without waste. The Democrats' government shutdown proved that without a doubt, and I'll reiterate what you said, that the Department of Education was not necessary during the shutdown. Now, this is what I've seen already on my 50-state tour that I've embarked on. Educators are innovating in their schools. States are customizing their budget.
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen.
And standards, and post-secondary institutions are planning for the economy of the future. But we're not leading them. They are informing us. That's why our final mission as a department is to fully empower states to carry the torch of our educational renaissance. Education is local. It should be overseen locally by those who best know local needs. We're not ending federal support for education. We are ending federal micromanagement and paving the way for education renewal through state reforms like school choice, the science of reading, and restoring the right priorities in higher education. President Trump promised to send education back to the states, and we're keeping that promise. America's next generation will look back on the work we've carried out, thankful for an education system that prioritizes students over bureaucracy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Secretary. And we'll take some questions for the Secretary if you have them. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Thank you for joining us. You announced the partnership to move some functions of the Education Department to other agencies. Are you talking to members of Congress about codifying this so that it lasts beyond the administration?
Yes, we started our conversation, and thanks very much for asking that, because there have been some reports that Congress is in the dark on this. That's clearly not true. We've been talking to, I've talked to dozens of members of Congress to explain to them exactly what we're doing, to bring them up to speed, and to say to them, look, when we have completed some of these transfers that are working incredibly well, then we will be looking to Congress to codify those, make them permanent.
Brian.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon, what is the update on the negotiations with Harvard? I know the president has publicly pointed to you as somebody who's worked on that. I think you've talked about that at length, but I'd like to understand, where are things with those negotiations with Harvard this time?
They're ongoing negotiations, and I feel very comfortable that we are getting close to having those negotiations finalized. It's been an open door conversation all along.
Deanna?
Hello, Mrs. Secretary. The president recently posted about establishing a federal standard for AI. Do you know if the administration has a view on the use of AI for students in schools? And Caroline, do you know if the president personally uses AI?
I don't think so.
You can handle
I've
that
never
one.
witnessed it, so I can't attest to that.
Well, I do think AI is going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed AI firsthand. I was at the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, and the first 2 hours of every day in that school, students are learning through AI. They have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI is really acting as like an individual tutor for those students, allowing those students that can progress faster to do that. Those who need a little catch up, it refeeds information to them. And so after those 2 hours of learning, the basics of what they're doing in their curriculum that day, then they spend the rest of the day. I mean, they have good recess and all of that time, but then they spend the rest of the day in what are called life skills. And they're actually using the information that they've learned this morning. So I've seen some AI in action that is really proving quite beneficial.
Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, as the Education Department continues to pare down.
I actually like to hear that. All right, so they're trying to use AI to tutor kids, and here's the problem. I mean, when they start replacing teachers with AI, then we're really gonna have a problem. So it's nice to hear that they're trying to teach kids how to use AI and all that good stuff so they can have a future with it. But I mean, shoot, what does that leave teachers?
Talk about taxpayer services like charter school grants and how the department will continue to assist kids with special needs.
Well, we are going to make sure that there's no interruption in getting that grant money out the door. I mean, that money is it comes from Congress. It's appropriated by Congress, and we legally are obligated to do that. And the transitions we're starting to make, our first programs that went over to the Department of Labor, that was a few weeks ago. We actually signed the first interagency agreement, which we accomplished under the authority of the Economy Act. We transferred grants for WIOA and for the Perkins Act. And the really good news is that the Department of Labor has a much more sophisticated system, technology system and grant fulfilling system than the Department of Education does. As a matter of fact, our executive manager that went over with that group over to Labor said he would compare.
Oh, shoot. Hey, yo, shout out to my man Gaming. Hey, and shout out to my man Monty sending a lightning disco, and shout out Gaming for the 100. I just seen it. Hey, shout out. Appreciate the support, guys.
What the labor system is to education's like held together by bubble gum that is not connected to any other part. So we were able to get those grants out the door more smoothly, and states have actually better access for those systems than they do at the Department of Education. So that's a real bonus.
Take a couple more. Carrie, go ahead.
As far as the diversity, equity, and inclusion new regulations that came out from the administrations, a lot of schools, whether in high school or even higher education is concerned, some of them are defying these new administration policies, even apparently according to a new report.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
As far as there's been a new report from the administration saying that half of medical schools are defying the administration when it comes to DEI policies. What type of action will the administration take for these schools that are defying the new DEI policies?
Well, certainly the president has been very clear, and the Department of Education has taken measures to make sure that as schools are developing, their policies, or if they have open DEI offices, they're closed, or DEI regulations and rules are stripped, from their programs, and so that will continue.
Great. We'll take one more. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, my question is, since you said 3 out of 10 students are literate with regard to their reading capacity, would now the states help to improve those numbers since you have gone back to the states?
Well, what we are finding that the states that are making great progress, it's through their own innovation. It's not coming from the Department of Education. I think the Department of Education is really misunderstood about what our function is. We don't teach one student. We have nothing to do with the curriculum that are in any states. We are a pass-through pathway from money that's appropriated by Congress to get, to the states. But what we have seen in those states that have taken that initiative and they are embracing the science of reading and returning that into their school programs. Louisiana has done it. Mississippi, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, because they were like, I think, bottom or next to last in reading proficiency in Mississippi. And now they're like middle of the pack, which has been a really big jump. Florida has, Iowa has, Tennessee. So, but these are innovations that are done at the state level. This is not anything we're dictating. And that's why I'm saying returning education to the states where they really are already leading in their education endeavors. And 90% of their budget they provide. The federal government only provides 8 to 10% of the budget for education. So
Yeah, this is why the Dems kind of freaking out about dismantling of the DOE was kind of funny, because it's like, yeah, well, let's be real. We all see the Department of Education was inefficient, where now the money that, well, I mean, let's be real, the money that we was allocating to them, I mean, all right, cool. Well, let's give it to them. Let's leave it to them. We don't do anything about it. It's like, we're just going to go ahead and dismantle this and save money on the administrative costs. What we just spent on that, we're going to go ahead and give extra funding to those states, and we're going to let them deal with it. So the states just get an extra bit of influx money from the federal government. What they do with it is on them. Should that help their education a little bit? Yes. Because what's the complaints of some of these areas? Well, due to property tax and local government and state, well, it's budgeting. It's about budget. Low income areas don't get the best schools because they don't have a good amount of taxes that come in, mainly property tax. So maybe the DOE being broken up, and we can take some of that administrative cost that we're saving on and allocate it out to the states, and let's see what they do with that. And hopefully they improve their education with it and not just start giving, the administrative staff bigger checks. Hopefully.
let's make sure that that grant money that's coming from the federal government is getting in their hands as efficiently as possible and getting to students. We don't want teachers having to spend their time and money in regulatory compliance. There was one superintendent chief who said to me that they had done some calculation in their state, and that for every dollar that went into the classroom in a grant, 47 cents was spent in regulatory compliance. So let's get the money into the hands of our students and our teachers. Let's raise the level of education. The other thing I'll do, and I'll quickly wrap up for you, is this 50-state tour that I have embarked on. We've done about 14 states. We've shut down a little bit during the shutdown. But what I am doing is visiting different kinds of schools, grammar schools, middle schools, high schools, micro schools, private schools, charter schools, the whole gambit. And in the end, my goal will be, as we step away and fully.
But all right, now let's go ahead and move on to Eric Trump. When Caitlin Collins is on your side, you effing up. Now, it doesn't really say that, but I mean, let's be real. When you go on mainstream media as a Republican, right, and you're getting on all the left-wing media, and all of them wants you, CNN, MSNBC, ABC wants you to talk, trust me, you're probably not saying the right things that's helping your party. Just saying. Unless you're just, going against your party, then hey, go right ahead.
A friendly warning over to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Do not slow walk the release of the Epstein files. Senator John Kennedy saying it would be a mistake to do so. I fully expect the Justice Department, he wrote, to release all the documents. It will take a while, but I believe
don't take 30 days. Now, they did say they're giving it 30 days for the Epstein files to be released fully. Now, is it going to take the full 30 days? Hopefully not. And that's what everybody's trying to tell her. Don't slow walk it, because the more you slow walk it, the more they feel like you're trying to hide something. But I mean, hey, on the other side of it, what's if that? Hey, that might just be as fast as they can go. It might just take 30 days to get everything together, and they make it just before the deadline. So let's show some patience here.
Started on it right now. Others speaking.
I mean, hey, if it takes a month, don't worry, you'll get it before Christmas.
Out, Eric Schmidt, Lisa Murkowski, and others. The clock is ticking. It's time to get those docs out. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett has just spun so hard, even the angle's dizzy. She went on CNN to try to clean up those claims that Republicans were taking political donations from Jeffrey Epstein, when it was actually a totally different guy named Jeffrey Epstein. Well, this is how it went down.
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. My team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specific.
Yeah, and your team Googled and it made you look stupid, sis. I'm sorry, but you kind of should have read into the details a little bit more. If you just did a little bit of fact checking, just a little bit of looking into it, you'd have found out like, oh, okay, yeah, the doctor is named Jeffrey Epstein, but it's not the same Jeffrey Epstein that we're talking about. The infamous pedophile, not that one, just a doctor named Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Because, well, Jeffrey's a common name and Epstein's a common Jewish last name. So, you know, surprise, surprise there. Shout out Steph. She says, hey, Set and everyone. How are you, Mr. Set? Can't stay long. I'm doing pretty good, Steph. Shout out. Appreciate it, Steph. Hope everything's going all right with oh wow, can't talk tonight. But I hope everything's going all right with you.
Why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
Oh my gosh. That is one of the more absurd things I've heard, and I've been in Washington for a long time. And even Caitlin Collins, listening to her, I don't think she was buying it.
People might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
a registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. When Collins asked about Delegate Stacey Plaskett's text with Epstein, Crockett tried to make it about Trump, not the woman being coached through a hearing by a pedophile.
We knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender? Why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship?
Are we talking about Trump? The same guy who broke off his relationship with